Welcome to another episode of VKind Connects. I am Gia Dadaboy, and I am here with the Financial Sharktress, Galit Tsadik.
Thank you so
Hi.
much. Hi, how are you? So excited to be here.
I know we have been so excited to finally talk to you. You offer such interesting and amazing, important services that I wanted to go a little bit more in depth about Financial Sharktress. So please share.
Okay, so I have two different kinds of services. One is what I started out with, which I own a virtual CFO service, and I do anything that has to do with money in a small business. So that is bookkeeping, payroll, accounts receivable, accounts payable, collections. We just help business owners really understand their finances in real time and take advantage of the opportunities that they're offered. The other piece of my business, which I'm super excited about, and I brought on a couple of years ago, is I became a certified financial education instructor, and I do financial wellness coaching for individuals.
So that is so important because we at VKind help business owners on a regular basis. But we know when you're starting a small business, you're wearing so many different hats and you don't have time to get educated in all the important aspects of running a business, or you may not be up to date on all of these new laws, regulations. So having somebody who has that expertise is definitely somebody you want to have in your pocket.
Yeah,
So
and I think that's one of the
I know
things
these services are
that
very valuable.
yeah, and that's one of the things that I make sure that all of my clients, no matter what level of service that I'm giving, uh, I always do training. So part of my services are always, if it's a small business client, it's training on the software. So even if they are not the ones actually putting in the transactions and categorizing and doing the bookkeeping themselves, they still understand what they're looking at because it's essential for a small business to be able to look and in one shot see where they are financially, because that'll enable them to take advantage of opportunities and to not miss out and maybe get that loan that they're looking to get. It's so many different things, and just to understand where you are financially at any given moment is so important for small business owners, especially when that's not something that they were taught or have studied or, are even interested in.
Yes. So I've worked in banking for over 8 years. And so I have seen people in all different levels of business owners, some that are very meticulous about making sure they know every single thing, and some of them that just kind of hand it off. And if you ask a question, they're like, I don't even know how much is in my account. So having training is vital, and having, especially if you're trying to do it all by yourself, having somebody that you can lean on for that support is definitely vital.
Yeah, and that's definitely the conversation I never want to have any business owner that's working with me to have with a bank, that they don't know, right? That's the first thing that we give training on, is how to understand their accounting software, how to understand their dashboard, and even if they're not in the day-to-day, categorization or the day-to-day bookkeeping, I still want them to be able to quickly look on their phone and be able to answer all of those questions, it, you know, within minutes, instead of saying, "Oh, I'm not sure. I have to go check with this person or that person." I just don't feel like that's okay for a business owner, when they're working with somebody. I don't think it's okay for that person to be the only person that knows what's going on with their finances, because that's how people get taken advantage of. That's how things happen, that somebody was stealing, or somebody was you know paying things out of the wrong accounts. Or I just want the business owner to be really comfortable and to understand what they're looking at, so that they can oversee it, even if they're not the ones doing it themselves.
No, that is definitely important. I could tell you I've had people who've had employees for over 10 years that have done, unfortunately, employee theft or have written checks and, the owner doesn't know. And then once this reconciliation happens at the end of the year, they find out, well, you've been employing somebody that has not been, a good employee and someone you don't want to have. So having that information is important. And then bookkeeping wise, knowing how much your overhead is, that will make adjustments, then you can spend money towards either marketing or you can spend money towards on expanding. So it is very, very important to know that information. But I know, and you can probably share some stories from your clients. I am sure, not all the business owners that you work with are in tune with everything that is happening. And especially with COVID that has happened, I know a lot of businesses, unfortunately have gone under or are struggling. So we would love some advice from somebody in your position on best practices, things to do or not to do.
Yeah, definitely reconciliation is one of the biggest things. A monthly reconciliation of your books can make a major difference in finding all of those little things and taking a look at your financial statement. So taking a look at your profit and loss, like on a regular monthly basis, or I have with my clients that I sit with them every quarter and we go over their books and we kind of look at all the different areas where they're spending, where they could be cutting expenses, where it's a good idea for them to that they have extra money in their marketing budget or another type of expense that they'd like to do. That's something that you should be looking at on a regular basis, definitely a quarterly basis, if not a monthly basis. And reconciliation will catch all those different types of mistakes or overpayments or somebody, funneling money out of accounts. Those are the times where you can actually sit down and look at it and compare, because what reconciliation as far as bookkeeping is concerned, it's really just taking your credit card and bank statements and comparing them to what's in the accounting software and making sure that the two things match. And I think that just that act alone, knowing that you're on top of it and knowing where you stand every single month, is a huge bonus to business owners.
Exactly. And then you definitely know when you're categorizing all your expenses, maybe you're spending too much on, let's say, food or on gas, or on, some overhead expenses like the phone. And you want to then look at alternatives to help bring down costs. And, some people do that, reassess that once a year, but if you can catch it quarterly, that is even better.
Exactly. That gives you just that much more time to be able to correct it, to be able to improve upon it, because that's the idea, right? To just constantly be improving, constantly getting better, constantly looking for ways that your business can thrive instead of just survive.
So tell us a little bit about some of your clients or any stories about your clients, and have any of them been able to, maybe because of your services, have they been able to expand, grow, maybe purchase additional items such as equipment, or, just want to hear some of these great stories that you had shared before.
Yeah, I have a great one, and it actually came up again recently because this client was pitching me to another client. But I started with this client a few years ago, and I remember her telling me our first conversation was, I'm making money and I have this bookkeeper, and I think I know where I am financially, but I feel like according to she was using Shopify and Square, and she's like, according to all these reports, I should be making more than what I'm seeing in my QuickBooks. And I was like, okay, let's take a look. And I'm one of those people that, if a penny is off, I'm going looking for that penny, because I know that a penny sometimes is not just a penny, right? It could look
Hmm.
like it's off by a penny, but there could be something major behind it that is being
Hmm.
miscategorized or being put into the wrong place. And after going through her books and, you know, going through and making sure that everything was categorized correctly, and then going through her sales reports, I realized that she had $10,000 missing. And she was absolutely right. She was making more money than was actually in her accounts. And we ended up going through every single payment processor that she had. And it turns out whoever she had been using before had never connected her Amazon payments to her bank account. So there was literally just $10,000 sitting there in a bank account, well, not in her bank account, in Amazon's bank account,
Yes.
just waiting to be transferred over into hers. And
Well, that's
it was like a windfall for her in that moment.
well. I'm sure she was happy to get that 10,000 and to know that it wasn't somebody stealing from her. So that is a good story
Exactly.
to end
And
with on that.
yeah, it was great. She was like, "I can't believe you found this." I was like, you're right. It's been here this whole time, but you need somebody you need to understand all the different systems, and you need somebody who's going to be able to look at the different systems and put them together and make sure that everything is coming through properly.
And that's so true with small businesses. A lot of our vegan small businesses, they use multiple platforms. They use Amazon, they use Shopify, they use, a bunch of different platforms, their own website. And then they may use,
Mhm.
online resources such as,
Yeah,
veggie or different businesses. So when they have so many of them, it is harder to reconcile and you have to keep track of it and you have to make sure you're doing it on a regular basis. And it is very easy to forget if you are the only one that's doing it.
exactly. And you know what it is software is just software. It's not a human behind it. So as much as and I find this all the time, I use QuickBooks Online for a lot of my clients, and it's amazing, but it is only software, and it's only as good as the data it guesses or the data that you put into it. So you need to have that person that's looking at it and making sure that it's being put in correctly, synced correctly, that it's not creating duplicate entries. That's definitely something that I see all the time when business owners are trying to connect softwares together and don't have experience creating those syncs. And when it's done properly, it operates well. But when it's done poorly, it can really cause a mess in the books and cause tons of duplicate entries or missing entries. And that's another reason why reconciliation every month is so important, because that is your monthly chance to catch all of those errors.
And you mentioned using QuickBooks Online, and I could tell you for being a user, they do updates all the time. And when I look at the screen, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is foreign to me. So having somebody that is familiar with all of these different programs and up to date is definitely important.
Yes,
Um,
it's
so
it's
I have a
it's a big
question for you.
deal. Sure.
Yes. So I know we had met. So you have been vegan. So can you tell us a little bit about your vegan journey? Because I know you work along with a lot of vegan businesses, and we love highlighting vegan businesses. So we'd like to hear a little bit more about your vegan journey.
Yes, so I actually became allergic to dairy about 10 years ago. And that kind of started off this vegan process. So, first, I became allergic to dairy and I wasn't able to eat any dairy products. And so, what ended up happening is I gravitated towards more vegan products because I knew, and vegan restaurants, because I knew that in those places, there would be no chance for me to get sick. And I had been to so many non vegan places, and sometimes when you tell them that that you can't have dairy, they think it's a preference and not an allergy. And there have been a number of times where I've actually gotten sick in a restaurant and, been completely just it completely started to turn me off to going to non-vegan places. Then, so that was like my first foray into it. So I started to become a little bit more vegan and a little bit more vegan, and I went as well on a weight loss journey. I actually lost 86 pounds, and one of the ways that I did was really starting to get healthy and starting to understand what it is that I'm putting into my body and the outcome of that. So that was another piece of the puzzle. And then the final piece of the puzzle was when I met my fiance. He had been vegan. I think at that point it was vegan for 4 years and vegetarian before that for 10. And so when he realized that, I was already on this journey and there was just, I think it was the only thing I was still eating was eggs. And that was for protein reasons that I thought I needed to because I didn't have the vegan nutritionist. I didn't have the vegan people in my life that could help me with that. Once he saw that, he started to introduce me to everything else and to all of the good vegan food and all of the different things that I could eat, all of the great options that there are available. And it was a no-brainer. That was it. And that was I'm going on 2 years now being fully vegan. And then with his help, I also started to really look into the environmental component and, me being a huge supporter of animals and the environment. It just started to click into place. Everything just started to click into place for me. And I just understood like this is what needs to be done. This is how we should start treating animals, treating the world, treating the environment. And you can tell from my brand name, I love the ocean and I love sharks, and it's a big factor in why I am the way that I am, why I choose to use the products that I choose, why I do my business completely remote. I just want to make sure that all of those things are still available for the next generations. And I want to make sure that every living thing on this planet currently is not suffering because of a choice I make.
That's beautiful, and I'm so happy that you found somebody that is also vegan to help you. So along with that journey, so I think it's great when your significant other is along with that same journey because I know many people who don't have that, and it is a struggle. But if you have that same mindset, it definitely helps you grow as a person, and you guys can support each other with all of the decisions to be made. So thank you for sharing that
Exactly.
story. How has your vegan
It was kind of
lifestyle
a
helped you also
no-brainer.
with it is. It's a no-brainer, and especially when you make that connection, it's like it all falls into place. So yeah,
Yeah, I
so
didn't have to
making
like
that
go and
vegan,
test the stuff myself.
yeah, and then even if you do have to go, you have
Sorry.
a partner to go with, and
Exactly. It was kind of like, oh, this is great. This is good. This is how you get your extra protein. This is how you get this. These are the brands that you can look for. And it just made it so much easier to really fully immerse myself into the lifestyle.
and I think that's one of the reasons why we created VKind was to kind of have a resource guide for people who are transitioning into veganism, like veg-curious, or that are vegans that want to be able to find and support businesses that are local to them online, but not having to look through all the ingredients and to check it yourself. It's all there available for you for everything from,
Hmm.
and I tell people, I'm like, we're like the vegan Yelp. You can find products, but you can also find professionals, because if you are going to be spending your money on a product or a service, you want to make sure it's with somebody that is in line with what you believe in. And, and it comes down to in any business, it could be somebody who's helping with your finances as well. to for your CPA, and it could be even the person that's running your credit card processing. There's all of these different things that are available for business owners, but I feel like they just are not aware of it. So that's why we wanted to make sure we talk to you, because, coming January, people are starting to reevaluate their businesses. It's a new year. They want to make sure that they have a successful year. And I know you have a few workshops and programs in place to make sure that businesses are successful. So can you please share
Yes.
your workshops coming up?
Sure. So actually, the workshops that I have coming up are for individuals. And I'm currently in the middle of a 5-week program that I actually put out as a free 5-week program. It's the Illuminate Your Money Shadows program. It will be a paid course in 2022, so that you can definitely look out for that as well. But I also have coming up in January a 12-week group coaching program called the Inner Shark Circle. And that is really everything that you need to know in order to whip your financial life into shape. So that is dealing with the mindset, dealing with getting out of the scarcity mentality and into an abundance mentality. It is the nuts and bolts, how to budget, and how to budget in a way that you can still do everything that you want to do, because I'm not a fan of deprivation. I don't think that kind of budgeting is sustainable, because and I found this also when I was during my health and weight loss journey. Like, it's just not sustainable to deprive yourself of something for a long term, because what happens is binging. And so it's the same thing when it comes to money. So what I do is I teach people how to build into their budget self-care, how to build into their budget paying themselves, investing, savings, paying down their debt. All of that is built into a budget with me. Instead of it just being about, this is what comes in and then these are the bills that I have to pay. I don't feel like that's enough, right? Because if we're just focusing on what we're paying everybody else, then we're not paying ourselves, we're not nurturing ourselves, and we're not nurturing our financial future. So all of those things I teach in the 12-week course, as well as how to set goals. It's very big for me. So I did this program called the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, and I graduated from it a few years ago. And one of the biggest takeaways that I got out of it was that whatever your goals are, you've got to think bigger, right? You want to 10 times that, 10x your goals. But you can't just 10x your goals and expect to get there. What you have to do is create all of these mini goals and have them be, specific, measurable, achievable, time bound, and relevant to your life in order for you to get there. And I teach people how to set these goals, how to celebrate every step of the way, because that's also really important. You have to make sure that you're constantly giving yourself that positive reinforcement to keep going forward. So I teach that system, and many, many others in this 12-week group coaching course. It's going to be 9 weeks of classes and then 3 integration weeks, where we really take all of the things that we've learned and put them into practice in our lives.
I love how you take the full picture of what a business owner needs to do, because the mental health aspect and taking care of yourself is not something that is top of mind. And that definitely leads to burnout. It leads to people not being motivated to continue what their mission is, because they aren't putting themselves first. And we don't do that usually. It's not one of those things that we're taught to do. We're taught to always complete a task and move on to the next one, and accomplish these tasks and then move on and do more and more. And it's never about celebrating, like you mentioned, the accomplishments that you've done. Looking back at things and the goal setting, I I think is very vital. And then looking back at the goals that you've set and making sure that you've, touched on them, because people set it once a year, but then they don't go back and look at what were my goals? What was my, I did want to do that and I forgot about that. So I think that is
Yeah.
so inspirational that you touch on all of these different aspects, because it's not just about money. You care about the full well-being. So
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times the first question that I get from a business owner is, I've never paid myself. Can I pay myself something now? And when you've been running a business for 1, 2, 3 years and you've never been able to take a paycheck, that hurts. And that makes you really frustrated and not want to go forward. So one of the biggest things we do is really figure out a way that you can feel like you're getting paid no matter what. And that's whether it's from your business or in your personal life. I have a motto of with my individual coaching clients, it's always pay yourself first. Even if it's $5 a week, $10 a week, $20 a week, whatever you can do to put towards you. Like, if you wait until all of your other bills get paid, there's usually nothing left for you. But if you take it off the top for you first, all of your other bills are going to get paid. You're going to find the money to do that. But you don't find the money the other way around. And so it's really important, in order for you to keep going and to not experience that frustration and that burnout and feeling like you just want to close down, it's important to make sure that you are getting paid first. And the same thing with someone who's working for a paycheck or a W-2 income. If you're just working and just paying your bills, there's still that paycheck to paycheck mentality. There's still that feeling of lack, or that feeling that you don't have enough if an emergency comes up, or if you've got to move to somewhere, or so one of the biggest things that I focus on is not having to stay in toxic environments because of your finances. And that could be a toxic relationship, that could be a toxic work environment, that can be a toxic living area or living situation. One of the reasons that I moved to Arizona was, and I own a condo in New York, and I had been living there, but because of COVID, there was this crazy uptick in crime, and I ended up going through 3 very traumatic experiences, one after the other. And I realized, that is also a toxic environment, and I need to remove myself from it. And because I had the systems in place, I was able to do that. I went through the things in October, November. By December 31st, I was in Arizona already. And I wouldn't have been able to do that if I hadn't had these systems in place, and I hadn't had, the different funds that I have. And it's funny because I call one of my favorite savings accounts is called my FU fund. And that is that I created so that if anything ever went down in my life, I could be like, F you, I've got this cushion, I can take a hike and go anywhere I want. And that's what I tapped into when this stuff happened. And that's what I would love to create for everyone else.
I love that you have your own experiences to understand what other people have been going through as well, and that you really are trying to get people to change their mindset, because that is something that's very hard to do, but you really have that on the forefront of what you're teaching. And I feel like you're also a therapist because you care so much
A little
about what is
bit.
going
I
on.
mean, one of the first things that we go through and we've tackled it in this current Illuminate Your Money Shadows course, and we're going to tackle it also in the 12-week course, is your childhood associations with money, because they shape what your relationship with money is now. And I want people to have a healthy relationship with their money. So one of the first things that we go through is, what was your interaction with money as a child? How did you see your parents, authority figures handling it? what did they say to you about money that has stuck with you? Because a lot of times people feel guilty about making money or are scared to be wealthy because they think, they've heard the big one I've heard is like, money is the root of all evil. It is not.
Yeah.
Money is just a tool, right? It is the people that have used money in evil ways. That's the evil part of it. It's not the money itself that is evil. You can do tons of amazing things with money. And that has been something that I have made sure to do throughout my career and throughout my life, is always giving back and charity and different nonprofits and figuring out ways to make money work in kind ways around the world. Like even the way that I invest, some of my investment accounts are literally to invest in, third world countries and to invest in female entrepreneurship in all these different third world countries and different socially active investments. And that's a big part of one of my investment accounts is literally funneling money into the things that can make a difference in the world. And I want that for everyone. I think that it's an opportunity. I take spending money as an opportunity to speak with my dollars. So I invest in the companies that I think are doing something great. That's why I love VKind. That's why I love being able to like look up and see what companies share the same values as I do, because those are the companies that I want to keep supporting, and I want them to thrive, because that is another way that I can make change in the world by using my dollars.
No, that's so true. That's why we're trying to grow the veg economy and putting the money back into these businesses that we should be supporting. And the fact that you talked about financial literacy in youth, I had, unfortunately, working in the banking industry, I have seen, people who are in their college years never knowing how to use a debit card or understanding any of this basic information because it's not taught in our school systems. And so they start having this habit of spending because that's kind of what our culture is about. And you kind of have to explain to them, like, you need to have multiple savings accounts, just like you have your ECU account. You need to have a backup account. You need to have a rainy day fund. You need to have a fund fund. There's multiple things you should be saving for. And then when I would go through their transactions, and I would tell them, you don't need to go to Starbucks every single day and spend $5. At the end of the year, this is how much you're spending, and they don't make that connection with their money. So it's very, very important.
Yeah, and you can even take it a step further. I think I have like something like 10 or maybe I might be a little bit more now, different savings accounts that all have a nickname of what it's earmarked for, right? So that when I tap into that savings account, I don't feel bad about using that money because I've given that money a job. I know exactly what it's meant to do for me. And as long as I'm using it for that purpose, then it's totally fine. So if I want to get the Starbucks every day, as long as I'm putting that money into, if I wanted to, I could create a savings account right now for coffee, for anything that I want, So when you tap into that account, you don't have to feel bad because it's not taking away from anything else in your life, because you're still saving or investing in all of the other aspects. You're just tapping into this one. Exactly. You're tapping into the account that you've already designated is the account for that thing. And so you're not experiencing the deprivation of saying, oh, I'm not able to go out, or I'm not able to eat out or go to a nice restaurant, because you know what? You've earmarked that money to go out to a nice restaurant. So there's no feeling of shame. There's no feeling of like the next morning, what did I do? Now I don't have enough money to pay my bills.
Yeah. You don't want to have that financial stress. You want to have, that shouldn't be something you're worried about on a regular basis. And if you're managing your money well, and the only way to do that is by having that resource available and taking workshops. And I think it's one of those things that it's a constant learning. You can't just do it once and think you're done. You have to continuously, be open to having education, having some feedback, learning, because learning is ongoing and things are changing so drastically in the climate that we're in with the internet, with all of these new systems like crypto. I'm sure there's so many things that, you could teach somebody, but it's a lot to take in. And especially if you're not very familiar with all of these different nuances, having somebody like yourself that's able to teach somebody or just, update people on, hey, you may want to look into doing this, or, hey, this may help you with your business. You want to have somebody else that's looking down and supporting you, because you can't think of everything and you may not know everything.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons that I created. So on my Facebook page, every Monday, I call it my Money Mondays, and I've been doing it for probably 4 years now, where I go live at it's 9 p.m. Eastern, so it's 7 p.m. right now, Arizona time. I call it Arizona time because they don't do daylight saving, so sometimes it's Pacific Standard Time, sometimes it's Mountain. Um, But I go live and I talk about my topic of the week, and then I'm there to answer questions. And then I also bring on guest experts in all the different other fields. So it gives me an opportunity to not only answer questions and share with people, but it also gives me an opportunity to learn about all the other things that I spend my time researching on. Because, as one person, you can't niche in everything. So I surround myself with a well of knowledge of all different kinds so that I can tap into every type of expert when I need that. And then I can also offer that to my clients and to just my audience in general. And my Money Mondays are always free, and they'll always be free. And they'll always be a place where there's no judgment. You can just come in, listen to the live, interact if you want. If not, just take what we're handing out. But you can also come there and ask questions and get the responses on the different things that you're interested about.
Thank you for, having that platform available and giving that information out so readily available. Can you tell us all the different places that people can find you so that they can connect with you?
Yeah, so I am on Facebook. My Facebook page is Financial Sharktress, Galit Tsadik. On Instagram, it's financial_sharktress. My website is financialsharktress.com. You can email me, galit@financialsharktress.com. Trying to think. And then I also have a Facebook group called Righteous Revenue Fishbowl, which you can also find that on Facebook.
Oh, that's perfect. And then I know you are on the VKind app, and that's how we've been able to connect.
Yes, and I love the VKind app. I am on that. Both my New York office and my Arizona office are on the VKind app. And that's another place that you can find me and everything, all the other ways to reach me.
Perfect. And I love that you have, so many connections so that if for some reason you may not know something, you have that resource available. So that is so important. Before we go, is there anything else that you want to add that we haven't been able to discuss? Because I think we went over so much today. I feel like the services you offer are so impactful and important for business owners to have. The workshops that you have available, especially for the new year, is something that people should be jumping on, and that you even have free resources available for anyone who's just starting out and just wants to get, a little bit more knowledgeable about what they should be doing for their business, because there is a lot to do. And, having somebody that's taking care of your books is what you want to work towards, because then you can use that time to help grow your business.
Yeah, so I have services for small businesses, everything between just training and getting someone set up on the software so that they can do it themselves to full on done for you services. And then with all of it, I focus a lot on financial literacy. So that is the most important part for me. I want people to understand. Because I think that we've been told for so long that leave it to the experts, you're not going to be able to understand it. And I feel like a lot of people, that is their way of making sure that their clients never leave. But for me, I would love for my clients to grow past, right? That is the goal for me, to take every business and grow it past, because when we grow as a community and everybody gets better. So I want to make sure that everybody understands, because it's not as difficult as everyone makes it out to be, right? We think, like, I know that I was told, at least in school, like, girls are not good at math. You should focus on reading and writing. And that never sat well with me, because math is such an integral part of everything. If you're an artist, you're using math all the time. You're using angles and symmetry, and if you're a musician, you're using beats, and you're counting different beats and creating music out of it. So all of these things that have been told to us that they don't necessarily involve math, they all involve math, and humans are hardwired to see that, to understand that. Even just looking at a beautiful painting, the ones that resonate with us are the ones that have a certain type of symmetry in it, or asymmetry. But those are the things that stand out to us, because our brains are hardwired to understand math. So even if you don't understand it in the way that people think you should understand it, as long as it's taught to you in the right way, you are able to understand it, and you are able to use it to thrive, instead of just surviving paycheck to paycheck, or instead of just surviving not really knowing where you're going.
Even just the way that you explain the processes is so easy to understand. And I appreciate that so much, because I think there's a fear factor with people talking about finances. And you're so approachable, and you've explained it to me very well, that I feel so comfortable coming to you and asking you anything. So I
Yes, and
really
I feel
appreciate your
like
time today, Galit.
thank you. I feel like that's the most important. I want this to be a no judgment zone. No matter if it's a business coming to me or a person coming to me, there's no judgment here. Like, we were not taught this in school, and that's not okay, but it's okay for us, right? We can change that. We have the opportunity to do better, to learn on our own. And that's what I want to impart to everyone, that it doesn't matter where you are right now. What matters is that we take small steps to improve it, and small steps forward, so that they're sustainable, and that you can change your financial future. You can create generational wealth. You can make sure that your kids are taken care of, and that the causes that you're interested in are taken care of.
Galit, you've made it so positive and inspiring to talk to you today, and talking about finances, which isn't the funnest of topics, but you definitely did make it fun today. So
Thank
thank you
you
so
so
much
much.
for taking the time to talk to us today. Financial Sharktress, you can find her on VKind and all of the different platforms that she discussed. We hope you tune in next time for another VKind Connects. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me. It was awesome.
Likewise.